Welcome to Transforming and Thriving with best friends Brooke and Stacie,
a podcast dedicated to women sharing their inspirational stories. Hey there, everyone. It's Stacie, and I am thrilled to be joined today by a dear friend of mine, Lauren Muelken, a doctor of physical therapy who has taken a hiatus since the birth of her son to prioritize being a stay-at-home mom so she can enjoy her time with him during these precious years. Lauren is a mother who I have looked up to and turned to as a mentor personally in recent years and come to for advice countless times, even on really minor things like how do you potty train and what potty did you use? I met her through an online community of pregnant women called What to Expect. So we met online. We were similar in age, and she was due 6 months before me. So she immediately became somewhat of a mentor. And I've asked her questions about what to expect along the way with my son, starting from our pregnancy journey through early postpartum, how to keep a newborn alive, how to keep my sanity. And she helped me navigate the toddler stage recently. I guess I should say she is still helping me navigate the toddler stage because we both have very hyperactive and sweet and fun toddler boys. I look up to her and respect her a great deal. She's a beautiful human and a wonderful mother. And I'm so grateful she agreed to share her story here. I think it's going to impact so many people. Thank you so much for being here, Lauren. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So
Excited.
glad you're here.
Oh, good. I know when you first approached me about your podcast, I was really, really excited to be a part of it. And I just wanted to kind of talk openly about the unspoken struggles surrounding fertility, miscarriage, and IVF. And hopefully, by me sharing my emotional roller coaster of trying to conceive and coping with loss and managing all my crazy feelings during my journey, it provides the listeners with a sense of community and hope and paths to find their peace in their experience. So, let me start a little bit about my story and myself. My husband and I met when we were in our late 30s, and most of our friends had already been married and had their kids. So we were very eager to start our family. We got engaged at our favorite winery in Santa Ynez, and we were married 7 months after in November 2019. And we decided to start trying right away, and I got pregnant the month after our wedding. And I was super excited.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, wow, okay, we're doing this and it's happening. And we went to our first ultrasound appointment, and there was a little flicker of a heartbeat, and we were just kind of over the moon. And we felt very grateful and lucky that it seemed so easy for us. But then we went into our second ultrasound, and I heard like the dreaded ultrasound tech words of, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat. And I just was completely shattered. Like I heard about miscarriage, but you never think it would happen to you. And so that was a huge, 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 devastating, words to hear. And so you get to learn a lot about your marriage and your husband and your relationship when something like this happens shortly after you've been married. So it kind of tested our relationship. But I would say, my husband, Steve, was wonderful. He was so patient with me, and he let me grieve the way I needed to grieve. And he asked me what I needed. And, your partner goes through the same thing too, and you don't think about it. And they might grieve differently and cope differently, but I think communication was a key thing for us.
Yeah.
So I had a DNC, and then when I was ready to try again, we tried again. And so I had my DNC in January, and then I was pregnant in April, and it was a beautiful pregnancy. I felt very fortunate. It was a very easy pregnancy. It was during COVID. And then I had my beautiful baby boy, Zach, in January 2021. So it was really, really nice to have a a healthy pregnancy after kind of a low time with the miscarriage at first, but I feel like it happens more often than people like to talk about. And so talking about it for me was always really a really good thing. So I've enjoyed Zach growing up, and he was an easy baby, which was really, really nice. And then we had started talking about a second child, and we weren't getting any younger. So we started trying when Zach was 1. I found out I was pregnant on his birthday. Yeah.
I
I
didn't know
got
that was
a
on his birthday. That's crazy.
It was on his first birthday. I got a positive pregnancy test. So it was a nice surprise. So I got pregnant when Zach was 1. I was a little anxious to go to my first ultrasound, just having had a miscarriage before. And it's kind of sad to think about, but I think having a miscarriage prior kind of, I don't know, clouds your, I don't know, or like kind of taints your like whole journey with each ultrasound I had after. I always felt this anxiety going into it.
Mm.
And so I sit there in the waiting room. I remember feeling like super clammy, and you're waiting and waiting, and they call you back. So they call me back, and they do the transvaginal ultrasound. They put the wand in, and I look, and I don't see a flicker on the screen. And so I immediately started to panic, and my heart was racing. And then it came again. I don't see a heartbeat. And so it was that all those feelings and all that anxiety kind of rushed back to me, and the same feelings. And I thought, oh man, it's happening again. Oh, and Steve was not there at the appointment with me. So
Ugh.
it was a hard one.
Oh my gosh, I can't
Because he
imagine.
was
Yeah, just
watching
feeling
Zach.
alone.
Yeah. And so same thing, I just kind of felt like I was going through it again. And we went through it, and I actually had another DNC, and it with each miscarriage, I don't really feel like it gets any easier. So after that, we kept trying and trying and trying, and unfortunately we tried for a year, and I didn't get pregnant again. And then we had made the decision we were going to try IVF. We were very lucky to have our insurance pay for part of it, which was really nice. So I went to the fertility clinic, was talking to the doctor, and the data and the numbers are extremely daunting.
Mm.
But knowing that, we still wanted to go through with it, because I just kind of felt like if I didn't give it my all to give Zach a sibling, then I would always wonder.
Yeah.
So we started our IVF journey, and it was a crazy one. And the day that I was supposed to start my egg retrieval injections, I took a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant again.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
naturally.
Talk
Yeah.
about a roller coaster.
Roller coaster. I was like gearing up. I was thinking positive for my IVF journey, and then I got pregnant. And I said, oh my gosh, this is such a sign. I'm not going to have to do this.
Mm.
This is so great. And I called my fertility clinic, and I said, I got a positive pregnancy test naturally. And they said, come on in. In a couple of weeks, I went in. And I went in, there was a little flicker, and I was so excited. I saw that little heartbeat,
Mhm.
but she did tell me it was on the slow side. And she wanted me to come back in next week. And so that week was nerve-wracking, because I just kept thinking, what if this and what if this? And Steve was trying to think positive. And then I went back in, and again, the dreaded words of, I'm sorry, there's no longer a heartbeat. And then I was crushed again. I just kind of didn't know what was wrong with my body, or was it failing me? I just had all these emotions running through my head. And I, turned to family, turned to friends. They were so great. They helped me through all of this. And I finally was ready. I was in a good space to actually start my egg retrieval. I had done my D&C, my period was back, and I started my egg retrieval and went through the IVF, and we ended up getting 8 eggs, and 6 were fertilized. And of the 6, 4 grew to a day 7 or 8 blastocyst, is what they call it, the blastocyst stage. And then they were sent off for testing because my fertility doctor was saying probably my biggest problem was the quality of my eggs because of my age.
That's
So he
gotta be
wanted to
so
make
hard to
sure.
hear as a
It,
female, just, feeling like, "Oh
yeah.
my gosh, this is," like you said, feeling like it's your fault or your body when it
Hmm.
totally isn't. It just ugh, that's gotta
Yeah.
be so difficult and
Yeah.
stressful, which stress obviously does wonders for,
I know.
also helping our body, but, ugh, I can't even
Yes.
imagine
Yes.
all of that.
Yes. I know all the emotions, all the emotions. But we ended up with one euploid, which means it's a genetically healthy embryo, and he had told me it was a girl.
Oh
And
my
so we were over
gosh.
the moon. Yeah, when I was so excited, and I was getting ready for the transfer. And so Steve and I had taken a little trip to Hawaii before, kind of just take my mind off things and, de-stress a little bit. So when I came back, I was ready to do the transfer. And my good friend, actually an old patient of mine, she lives in Long Island. She came out for my egg retrieval and transfer to help out with Zach. And so she was
Oh.
a godsend. It was awesome. So great to have her and all her support. So I went in for my transfer. The transfer is a lot easier than the egg retrieval. And you transfer and you get to be a princess. And you get to be waited on hand and foot, and you're laying in bed and you're relaxing. And that was actually a really nice couple days. So when I went back in, I think it was a week or a little over a week after the transfer, we found out that the transfer failed. It never even implanted. So my HCG levels were basically 0. And that was a blow too, because I feel like IVF has worked for a lot of my friends, and a lot of my family members have gone through IVF, and they've, had healthy pregnancies and healthy babies from it. So I didn't think it was going to happen to me, but I did only have one shot. So that was another down part of my roller coaster.
Oh, yeah, well,
um,
can I imagine too, just the comparison, like, I remember hearing a quote one time, like, "Comparison is the death of all joy," and it's so hard, I think, when you start comparing yourself
yeah.
to other people and knowing their
Yeah.
stories when you're expecting it to go a certain way and like, "Okay, why me? Why did this not happen for me?"
Hmm. Yeah. I ask myself that all the time. Like, oh man, why did this happen to me? Or why can't my body just, you know, cooperate? Or I wish I would have done a natural cycle and I did a medicated cycle. And you can kind of what if, all day, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And, you know, we got one more shot and I actually got pregnant again, naturally. October. So
Wow.
I transferred in August of last year. The transfer failed, and then I got pregnant naturally in October
Oh
again.
my gosh. I mean, this is a roller
And
coaster that
so
just keeps going up and down and up and down and going in
up and
circles.
down and up and down. I can't even, keep track of it. But also that one ended in a miscarriage. So I went in again. There was a heartbeat. It was slow, and I went in for the second one, and there was no heartbeat. So,
Ugh,
um,
I'm so
those
sorry.
words, like every time the ultrasound anxiety for me was the worst. Just waiting in the waiting room, waiting to be called back, waiting, to look at the screen to see if there's like a little flicker. Man, I dream about that still. So, um, yeah, it was a crazy ride. And so I kind of like to think like that it was my body telling me that it just wasn't meant to be. For whatever reason, the egg and the sperm were not compatible, and my body was making that decision for me. So, yeah. So then here we are today. and I am in a much, much better headspace. And it's probably thanks to my husband, all my friends, family, and especially my son. My son has definitely kept me out of the trenches. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Wow. Well, I can't even imagine everything that you've gone through, both physically and emotionally. And it sounds like, I mean, I'm humbled and inspired by your perspective on everything and just your courage to share this topic that I know is highly personal. And I mean, there's a lot of trauma attached to everything that you're sharing. I mean, just even the going in every time and having anxiety about the ultrasound, like, I can't even imagine. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that. So I feel for you. I know you've gone through so much with this journey, but like you said, it sounds like you have some amazing support in your life, which obviously is a testament to you that you have those people there who love you, obviously because you're amazing. But that sounds like you have an amazing supportive husband. I know Steve personally, but I'm very happy that he's been there for you and been so supportive. And you do have a beautiful baby boy, and it sounds like a lot of really strong, supportive women in your life too, and friends who show up.
Including you.
Oh, thanks.
You, of course, you. Of all people, you always, always checked in on me. You always, sent me a note thinking of you, and all those little things, they don't go unnoticed. It's, what helped me probably move through it was one, opening up and sharing about my miscarriage always makes me feel better. I know everyone processes grief in their own way, and I know, and I understand why some people kind of keep it to themselves, but I hope by me sharing my story, it can help others feel less alone. I know that I always felt better getting everything out. And I'm not even looking for anybody to respond. Like my friends and family, my village, or people who have gone through similar experiences, other IVF mom warriors, all those people like helped me so much, sending flowers, sending food. Sometimes people just say, I'm here. We don't even have to talk. If you just want to sit in silence, I'm here for you. And that is so great. Just knowing that I have people that I can count on and have my back. Reading happy rom-com books. I loved to do that. Helped me. Taking trips to places that I love that calm me, like Hawaii, wine tasting in San Ynez, and then spending time with Zach. Getting back to things that, make you laugh and smile, and hanging out with friends that make you laugh literally out loud till your stomach hurts. And that's definitely you, Stace. We always have a good time
Or
when we're
having hip-hop
together.
dance parties.
Yes,
Our
hip
husbands
hop
are like,
dance
oh my
parties,
gosh.
90s hip hop dance parties and karaoke for sure. Yeah. So all that has helped. And then also I do want to say that part of what helped me deal with my failed IVF was my friend Erin, who had also gone through 2 failed cycles, told me, I know you don't want to hear this, but I just want you to prepare yourself mentally for IVF not working. And I didn't want to hear it. It's not something I wanted to hear, but I kind of put it into the back of my head. And, just knowing that IVF is not a guarantee. It works for a lot of people. And I know plenty of them. And I was sure it was going to work for me. And then when it didn't, I kind of reached back into that part of my brain where I had stored her telling me this. And it really, really helped me navigate my feelings after the failed IVF. So that was good. And I would say also, don't be afraid to set your boundaries. If you have a friend who has said some hurtful things, it's okay to distance yourself and, make space for yourself.
That's such an important reminder. I feel like that is something that, I don't know, for me and a lot of women that I speak to, it's something that we continue to try to remind ourselves of and work towards setting boundaries and being able to communicate those boundaries just in lots of situations. Definitely something that I think I'm still working on figuring that out at my young age of 43 in life, but definitely like a growth opportunity always. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about, because I'm sure it's, probably there's still a lot. I'm sure this isn't something that you feel like you've completely like had a resolution with, and it's
you're completely healed from. It's probably just going to be an ongoing process for you. I'm wondering
Definitely.
what continues to help you to move through it, or what drives you to keep living this life and
Um,
trying to thrive. And
a big part of it is my son. Like, I am so, so thankful and grateful for him. He's 3, he's going to be 4 in January, and he's at such a fun age, and he's learning so much, and he's talking so much more and understanding so much more. And what I felt really guilty for wanting another child, and because I never wanted Zach to feel like he wasn't enough.
mm,
And so I struggled having these 2 emotions of being grateful for him, but still wanting more.
Yeah.
And so once I finally realized I could have both of those emotions and it was okay, then I felt like I could move forward. And so I continue to remind myself that I'm just so grateful for him, and he's at such a fun age. He told me this morning, Mommy, you're my best hero.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I live for like this, I live for him, I live for this moment of he just I can't even explain it. So, he helps me in ways that he'll never know. So, you know, and so there might and like you said, I don't know, I'm still working on this. It's still a process for me, and some people ask me, "Are you done? Are you?" And I think about it and I'm like, there might not be like ever a definite moment where I'm exactly saying, I'm done. I'm calling it quits.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could really say that my journey's done. But deep down, I think I've accepted that I'm okay if I never have another baby, and Zach doesn't have any siblings. And I'm looking at the silver lining of things, and I'm just enjoying my time with Zach, and I'm ready to travel, and I'm ready to see the world through his eyes, because it's such a beautiful he's such a beautiful thing. And
Mm.
I just love our family, and I just we have a trip planned to Japan, and I just can't wait for Zach to learn about part of his culture, because I'm half Japanese, and he's very proud of it, and he tells people, "I'm part Japanese." Yeah.
That's going to be such a neat trip for all of you as a family.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited. It should be a lot of fun.
selfishly, I'm excited to hear about it because I've always wanted to go to
Yeah,
Japan. So you'll have to share all about it, and maybe one of these days we'll make our way over there too. But I think
definitely.
just everything you've shared about, like, just where you're at in terms of your perspective on everything, and just having this level of like deep gratitude and peace, and trying to
Mhm.
focus on, like you said, the silver lining and the positives of it, and just, just being real and acknowledging, like, I might never be 100% able to be like, I'm totally done. And it's probably hard to answer questions, I would imagine.
Mhm.
I know for me, you know a little bit about my story, but my experience of telling people that we're not having a second was a very short response, because the doctor literally told me you could die if you get pregnant again because of my preeclampsia. So it was very quick. Like, if people ask me, like, doctor said I'd die if I
Mhm.
got pregnant again. So we're one and done. It was a very quick, but I think yours has been a lot more complex and nuanced, and it's probably hard to figure out exactly when and if you're
Yeah,
completely done. And you just never know. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Life
right.
is full of surprises, but it sounds like you're in a really good place right now, which I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear.
Yeah. It does get
Um,
easier though with
yeah.
you know, every question or every inquiry, it does get easier to
I
answer
would,
or to share.
yeah, I'm sure it just, like, they say time helps or heals all wounds, or whatever that cliche saying is. But, time does,
Yeah,
like, over
it
time,
does.
things do get a little bit less emotionally intense or painful.
Yes.
Not always, but
Def Yeah. I mean, I used to be triggered by pregnancy announcements from my friends,
mm,
and luckily I had really great friends who were very careful of their wording and when they would tell me, and I would always feel the slight a little pang of jealousy that I wish it was me.
Mm.
But as time went on, and I'm hearing more, I I don't feel that anymore. So I can say that that's also a big step for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Just in your healing journey. And I mean, how how amazing to have your son say something that you're his favorite hero. Like obviously
I know.
so he's so fulfilled and happy and joyful
Maybe I'm
and
doing
loves
something
his
right.
family. You are definitely doing a lot of things right, Lauren. You're definitely doing a lot of things right.
Yeah.
I'm curious if I know you've already shared a little bit in terms of like advice you'd have for other people, but if is there anything else just for listener? I mean, hopefully we'll have listeners who might be navigating their own challenges that could be, similar, a little bit different. I'm sure no one's story is exactly the same, but is there any advice or just encouragement or words of support that you would give them to maybe help them stay resilient and find their path along their own journey?
Yeah. Let's see. I would say be kind to your body.
Mm.
It's not your body's fault. Your body did not fail you. It's just some things don't align. There was a problem with the egg or the problem with the sperm, and they just weren't compatible enough to make a healthy embryo. So it's be kind to your body. It's trying to make a miracle. And it's okay to be not okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to ugly cry. And when you're ready, physically and mentally, you can try again. Another thing I would say is to communicate your needs to especially your partner. Steve was really great. He always asked me what I needed, or if I needed space, or if I needed him. And so communication within your relationship is really key, I think, to navigating my fertility struggles and whatnot. And think about it that they're also going through it too in a different way, and they could be processing and hurting and grieving. It just looks different. So maybe be kind to them too.
Mm. Yeah, such an
Um,
important reminder. And be kind to your own body, like you said.
yes, be kind to your own body and be, open and lean on your friends, because that's what they're there for. Don't feel like you're burdening them. Don't feel like you're saying too much. That's they have your back, and they're kind of your support. They're your village. So use them.
Great advice. Great advice. Because, yeah, sometimes I think we try to do things on our own and it's hard to ask for help. But really, if it helps you to think about you're helping the other person as well by allowing them to be there for you and give and support you. Because, like you said, that's what they're there for. And everyone that loves you wants to help and support you and feel like useful and in some way that they are providing and giving and sharing their love with you.
Right.
So that's such an important point. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, Lauren.
Of course.
Like I said, I'm humbled and moved actually to hear more about your journey than I knew, and just so many of the details that I hadn't known about and the lessons you've learned from it. I really do feel like your story has the opportunity to touch so many lives, not only those who have or are going through something similar, but like you said, also their loved ones, trying to find ways to support them. I think this could be really impactful for a variety of people who are involved in this type of a journey in some way, directly or indirectly. So I really, really appreciate you being here and just being so open and authentic. That's what it's all about. But you're just an example of why, I was super excited to create this podcast. So thank you for being a testament to what it's all about. And
of
sharing.
course, anytime. I love you, Stace.
Oh, I love you too. And you've helped me a lot too, my dear. So that's what we do. You find your community and we support and help each other. And it is exactly 11:11 right now. How funny is that?
Yeah.
To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Transforming and Thriving. If you found Lauren's story as inspiring as we did, please follow us on your favorite podcast app and follow us on Instagram so you can be a part of this community and stay up to date with each episode. You can check out our website as well at www.transformingandthriving.com for resources and a deeper dive into each woman's story. And remember, we are all in this crazy life together, so let's move through it together. See you there. you.